seconds between changing the speaker. So what happens is when a Gusset, an outsider, starts speaking with them, and when they first met the outsiders, they would say, "Oh, these natives never talk. They never, they're so silent." And the reason is because they just have a different pause pattern. And unless you know that, and the BIA folks from the Bureau of Indian Affairs would just say that they were too passive, and one of the reasons why they actually had to stop speaking their language was because of that pause pattern. So that makes all the difference. And so when you know the audience, then you can adjust to them. So by developing this, it gave them, they didn't have to do other things to learn the spelling words. If that makes sense. So that's the PAI thing, where you use whatever it takes to get something done. And it's just something I use. You're not going to find it in any text. It's just everything you learn in these classes that Dr. Abed and I teach you come from our experience. You're not going to get anything that he hasn't done or I haven't done. And we feel that at least you get the benefit of that experience. It's not the only way. So everything we teach you is not the only way. So if you find other ways that are more fruitful for you, fine. But and we try and present more than one way of doing anything. Now the presentations that you're going to be doing, I've broken it down after seeing so many bad presentations in my lifetime. Has anyone ever seen bad presentations? Okay. Probably given a bunch too. I'm sure I have. So I have developed a system that I've been showing some folks. And let me hide this. I've got 4 different things, 4 different kinds of presentations. And I actually have this as a recording, which you'll be able to see. It'll be up there after the class. And I have 4 different types of presentations. And each presentation is dependent on your audience. So if you don't know who the audience is, you're really in trouble. If you don't know what your purpose is. So I'm going down to Brazil, and all I know is that there are potentially 1,500 people in the audience, potentially, and they don't know English. That's all I know so far, which is not really the greatest. So of the 4 different types of presentations, and I'll turn on, there is an audio track, but basically, okay, these are the questions to ask yourself before you present. That's pretty simple, but you got to know who the audience is, what's the purpose, and I'm going to show you the 4 different purposes, and you're going to have to choose which of the purposes is the one you're going to do. And I keep it simple because there are 4 ways you can break it down. Now you can break this down into 27. You might find some professors who do that, but I like to just make it as simple as possible. Question or comment about that? Got to have one. Yeah.
Well, I know with like education and teaching, what should the audience be doing? It's usually taking notes. But when you're doing like some sort of like presentation, like you're going to go do with like 1,500 people in the crowd, what is it that you would want the audience to be doing at that time?
And that's the question. Okay, and I'm going to show you. I don't want them writing notes, because they're not going to listen to me. But let me ask you this question. Why did I use numbers there instead of bullets? Yeah.
Because numbers are universal. Everybody understands them.
Okay. What else? And that's good. What else? Yeah.
Systematic.
Okay. It could be order, but it's not. It's not. This is not necessarily order. There's even a simpler reason. I've got 4 things up there. If you have a question about one, you can say, "How about number 2?" Instead of what you said, so that I can look back and see number 2 right away. So if you have bullets up there, someone says, "How about this and that?" It's simple. And it's not a big thing, but think about that. When you present stuff and you want people to be able to respond and ask questions. So I was numbered them. And then when people have questions, they'll say, okay, number 3, number 4. In foreign languages, that may be the thing too. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4. So they would ask you, número 13, ¿qué hora es? I don't know, whatever. It's my loudly Spanish. Okay. So these are the things you'd be looking at. And where does the audience look? Do you want them looking at you? Do you want them looking at the board? Do you want them looking at paper? And those are three legitimate things to think about. If you are going to speak to people and just present some information, and you're really not going to be teaching them anything, but you're presenting something, you want them looking at you. You don't want them reading the board, because if they're reading the board, they're not going to listen to you, and they'll say, and the kid in the back is going to, wait, I missed that. And so you defeat the purpose right away. And you've probably been to some presentations where people show like 27,000 things on the screen and trying to figure out what that graph is. Again, that's where they actually lose the audience. So a type 1 presentation, as I have it, there's the audience. Type 1 presentation is presenting information to an audience. You don't want them to be taking notes. They should be looking at you. Not a lot on the board. This is up there. This is not only as a recording, but I have it as a PDF file that you can download and look at it as well. So you have it in two different ways. So that some people who like to look at recordings, you can look at the recording. Those people that need a piece of paper, you have that too. You're going to be doing that kind of thing as well. Because not everybody learns from a recording, not everybody learns from a piece of paper. So, 2 or 3 questions from there. Or at least 2, and 3 if you're good. Yeah?
Do you always want the audience to look at you?
Yes. Well, you have this up here, and they can look at a point, but you don't want them to spend all their time reading, because then they will lose your content. So as you make a presentation, what you want to do is interact with the audience. You don't want them to be PowerPointed to death. And then you can tell them at the very beginning, I'm going to give you all the notes. Or you can tell them at the very beginning, this is recorded. So you go back and look at anything you want. And then you can just listen to me, and I can look at you and see if you understand or don't. And it's more intimate. And many presentations that you go to should be of this ilk. Because you don't want people reading for detail when you're trying to give them the big picture, the overview. Does that make sense? I mean, I hate to use that term, but yeah, go ahead.
Is that what you mean by number 2, not intended to draw audience attention?
Yes.
Is
The presentation is not intended.
presentation
Right.
itself, but not
Right.
you.
Right.
Okay.
You don't want to draw it away. You want people to listen to you, look at you. Now, if you're self-conscious, like we all are, you get over it. Because people are there and they want to hear what you have to say, and you want to give your best foot forward. So 2 more questions, or actually 1 more question and a bonus. Okay, yeah.
Stay away from decorations.
Which number?
6.
Number 6? Same thing? 6. 6. Stay away from decorations. Don't put fancy things on your presentations. No decorative graphics. No crazy looking backgrounds. No black on white. Make it simple, like a book. Because the key is this. What you're doing is communication. Nothing more, nothing less. You're communicating ideas. Anything that gets in the way, you don't want to have. You want everything to facilitate communication. How many people eat cake? Maybe all eat cake. Do you taste the eggs when you eat the cake? Taste the baking powder? Cake comes across as a cake. Your communication should come across as communication. And people shouldn't be saying, why did you spell audience wrong? You know what I mean? So, everything you put forward, you want your spelling, you want everything to be the best way that the audience will get your message. If you don't, if you misspell, if you put something on another line, I call this number 4, see number 4? Don't fold. So fold means that if I have 6 to 8 words per and then lines on the bottom, don't do that. Rewrite it, make it 1 line so that people can read and not go down. Because somebody in the back is going to be trying to read that extra little line, they're going to miss it, and so on and so forth. The whole purpose is for them to look at you, listen to you, maybe read the points. With PowerPoint, you can have like 1 thing come at a time or something like that. Don't go crazy with the things going on. And no sounds, none of this like bullets and all that other stuff. Don't do that. Question or comment about that? Still, you had one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's just funny that you're saying that because it just like seems like it goes against all those ideas when you initially started thinking about how to create a presentation that you used to hear, you want to add color, or you want to draw their attention to a specific point, so you might highlight it with a specific color, or you would design your page or your presentation in a specific manner so that people can work their eye through the page. It just seems like such the opposite, but it makes sense, is what I'm saying.
See, the thing is that there's 3 others that go after this that will have other characteristics. But this one, if you identify that that's what you're doing, don't make it any more complicated than it is. Remember, it's the communication, you can communicate ideas and tell them, we got handouts, we got this and that, so I really want to interact with you, and if you have a question anytime, raise your hand, and you can have the handout and all this other stuff. It'll take the pressure off to take notes. I always record stuff so that I take the pressure off people that, if they want to go back and see what we did. Any other questions? There was one of the, 2 others.
I've done like PowerPoint things like in my classroom, and when presenting the slide, is it better to have like a background color or like a design, or is it best just to leave it simple so that the students aren't distracted, or do you think that the background pattern brings them to the slide, or?
Did you want to answer that?
Can I?
Yeah, of course. It's a class.
I taught how to give presentations in my computer applications classes, and one of the things I always told them was, I don't care if you use a color, but if you use black, you have to use white lettering. So if you use a black background, you use white lettering. If you use a white background, you use black lettering. So you always do dark on light and light on dark. If you do any sort of like picture background, it becomes too much. And the first thing that I do to teach presentations is I show them a really terrible presentation. And I actually Googled it, and it's on there, it's online, and I stole it, and I used it, and I didn't cite it, and I purposely didn't cite it, hoping the kids would pick up on that. And they just like mope and groan the whole time about how bad the presentation is. And then they're better judges of doing it themselves, and reminding them that it looks different on the screen than it does on this screen. So I always go by dark on light and light on dark. Don't get too fancy, but you can go by that color.
Now, I would add to that. I would disagree, and just respectfully, I would never use dark color background with light. Because there's always going to be somebody in there who's going to have trouble reading this. And it's not a bad thing. I mean, it can be done well, but in general, most people can't do it really well. So stick to the standard. If you look at a book is white, it's got text, because you just want to get your ideas across. Just get the idea, and that's okay. It's okay to disagree. Believe me, it's not a problem. But in general, if there's color on there that's distracting, don't use pictures on there. And the one color I keep telling you that's the most important. Why is red the most important color?
It draws your eye.
It draws your eyes. So don't use red unless there's a specific purpose, or it's like a rose or something. If you have a diagram that's intricate and you want to highlight like the right ventricle of the heart, okay, you can use the certain that. But the rest of it, it's going to be whatever colors it is, and the red's going to draw the person's attention to it. So that's just, again, that's my experience, and you'll see people, when they use red correctly, it adds to your skills as a presenter. Okay, here's the number 2. And there's also some audio there too. There's me making presentations. That's in Jamaica. Okay, type 2 is using this as a presentation tool. So that means that you actually want people to be looking at the screen. You would have more things on. You wouldn't make it so they couldn't read it, but you'd actually call their attention to what you have on the screen. So you could have a diagram, you could have maybe a paragraph, like a quote or something like that. But you want them to look at the screen. You'd be able to go over to the screen, take your laser pointer if you want to. If you do it in Spanish, it's perfect. So let's say you want to do conjugation of verbs. You want them to look at that. You're going to supply the audio, but then they're going to be looking here, and you're going to be directing their attention. Why? Why do I say that? What's the justification? Why do you think I would say that? Education.
You are controlling what they're looking at by directing their attention, their focus to what you want them to look at on the presentation?
You want them to focus on something, right? What's the opposite of focus? Distraction, inattention, tension, inattention. So you are fighting their inattention by making them attend. And that's what they're attending to, what you're trying to show them. And you don't need everything on one slide. I mean, slides are free. Hey, make 20. You know, if you need 20, make 20. You don't have to use that many. Kind of cut it down, segment. What else? I've got to have at least 2 or 3 more questions from this. Yeah. Which one?
How do you differentiate your type of audience for these presentations? Would number 1 be used more so for a business setting than number 2?
It depends on the content. So if I was going to give an overview to a group about our new school, I'm going to give an overview. So it's going to be a general thing. I want to show them a couple of things, but in general, I don't want to read. I want to show them maybe different parts of the school or a building, and I would be speaking. And it would be so that you're just kind of doing something as an introduction, or maybe, say you're at a professional meeting, you want to just make a short presentation instead of giving them the whole 9 yards. And number 2 is you're actually teaching, you're actually instructing. So that's for a general presentation, people usually aren't coming in there for instruction unless that's part of what you say it is. Do you buy that, or what do you think? Yeah, what do you think? Yeah.
For number 4,
Number 4, yeah.
it says can use along with activity sheets and what is the other?
Realia. It's just a fancy jargon term for real stuff. So if you're teaching the camera, how a camera works, you bring in the camera. So, this is an old media term from the old library media folks. It just means using real stuff when you can. And if you can, if there are things that you can bring in, you always want to do that. So, what do you teach? Spanish? No, you. Then
I'm sorry, 4th grade.
4th grade what?
Everything.
Okay, so you teach in the neighborhood. So what you might do is you might bring in Mr. Jones, the grocer. That would be like a real reality. Or you can take the kids out to the neighborhood that's using real stuff to teach. If you have stuff that you can bring in, I mean, that's good. But for the first one, you don't want people to be too interested in what you're going to show them. Okay, so these are the first 2.
Now, excuse me.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Sure.
So with type 2, I see that you have more numbers.
Yes.
So is that also a strategy for that? More numbers, and would you also fold those?
I would have more on here, and if I'd have maybe a paragraph. I'd have a paragraph and stuff. I wouldn't fold as much as possible. When you write, always try and write a complete thought in a way that people can read it the easiest. So that you don't want to write like I went to the, and then on the bottom store when. Don't center your text. Left justify, and when it doesn't fit, rewrite it. Be a good rewriter. I mean, that's the essence of communication, is being able to write something as succinctly as possible, and then have people look at it and say, yeah, I get it, and learn from it.
They make exceptions for, like I teach social studies, so if you have, Argentina, and it doesn't fit all in one line, don't you want to bring it over instead of breaking it up into a hyphen?
Sometimes you might want to make it a little bit smaller text.
Okay.
In other words, whatever your headline is, whatever it is, the text on the line on the slide should be at least one size smaller. So when you have a title, the text itself should be at least a size smaller. Sometimes you might make them all smaller. I try and, as much as possible, not to bend, to have something break on the line. You try it yourself. If it doesn't work for you, okay. I'll give you feedback on that stuff, but in the end, this is something you have to do. So as you work. And on these 5 presentations that you make, it's all going to be like that too. Let me just show you quickly the other 2, and then we'll take a break. They're going to surprise you. As a matter of fact, you're probably going to hate me when I show you these. And they'll be available. Actually, I'll put these up here. The other types of presentations, not surprising. There are kids there. That was when I was in Slovenia. Type 3, using PowerPoint or any of these programs as a standalone program. So using PowerPoint, you know, you can make links to this and that and so on, and you can make a presentation, type 1 and type 2, and then just turn it into a standalone program and give it to the kids to look at. You've probably done something like that. Say you make a presentation or you have a lesson, and you just put some links from here to there, so on and so forth. Yeah. Ask me 2 questions about this one.
What's the difference of doing this to a WebQuest?
I'm sorry?
What's the difference of doing the
Which number?
PowerPoint as a standalone compared to a WebQuest?
WebQuest?
Yeah. So like if you have links from your PowerPoint,
Probably
it's
not.
the same thing.
Or probably, you know, but it's basically for people to use on their own. You can make a WebQuest for people on their own, but I'm talking about, it's the same thing. I mean, it's not a big deal. But they do it on their own. It's doing it on your own is the thing. So it's using the same equipment, the same PowerPoint to use it on your own. The student use it on it, yeah.
It just seemed like the other 2 presentation styles, you're in more control of understanding if the audience is kind of with you throughout. I mean, there's no guarantee,
Right.
but with this style of presentation, it just seems like there's no guarantee that they're even going to be with what's going on.
You have to build it into your presentation.
I mean, you can have like feedback, yeah, go ahead.
Is this even really a presentation, or is this more like?
It's
just
using
you
the
with
presentation software.
them? Yeah.
So if you make a presentation, you can repurpose that. That means you can take it and put it. The idea is you're not always going to have something, and you could have some feedback like activity sheets or quizzes or something online. But it's the presentation software that you have that you're using already, but you can take it and use it in a third way. So of your presentations, 2 are going to be the first one. We'll just make one where you're going to be standing. One will be the second one where you're going to be teaching some kind of content. A third will be taking one of those and just repurposing that to be a standalone. I still need one more question. I'm not letting you get rid of it. Yeah.
This is kind of a comment, not instead of a
Sure,
question.
yeah.
But it's just reminded me, I've used this curriculum in the past that it has presentation as part of it. And it gives the teacher the option of you can either teach it in front of the class and ask
Exactly.
the notes, or it had material that you can actually just give it to the students and then they can work together. And I've actually taught the same class at the same time, and with one group did it one way, and with the other group did it the other way because they worked better in groups. They were chatty.
Did it work out okay?
They
both
were-
learned this?
Yeah, one group was chatty, so it worked better for them to talk with each other,
Sure,
work
sure.
in groups.
I also have a comment.
Sure.
This is a
Which
good
number?
thing if you have for a substitute, like if you have computers where everybody can be on a computer and you need a lesson where you want them to, you don't want to waste the day. You want to make sure that just because they have a substitute doesn't mean we're going to lose instruction time. To use the WebQuest for this presentation to guide the students so they're not losing any instruction over it. 'Cause
Or
you're
if
not
somebody
gonna
misses the
substitute.
class,
Yeah.
what if they miss? None of you have students that miss classes. Okay, and the last one is, again, I don't know if you can anticipate. What do you think the last one would be? Yeah, what? Thank you. Oh, what a dummy. I should say. So what do you think type 4 would be? Is this being taped? Doesn't need to be. You already have this thing. But
Would it be that students giving the presentation?
could be. But I'm talking about you though. Yeah.
Or video?
Video? Let's see. How many people think it's a video? Raise your hand. Come on, you got to support your local teacher. Okay. The type 4, the last one is using a presentation with an interactive teaching tool like a smartboard. So that means that it's up there, and it's not like the type 2 because you actually have people come up and interact with it. So basically, those of you that have used the smartboard before, you know what's going on. Those of you who haven't will. So the last particular presentation that you're going to make is going to be using a smartboard, which we'll get to. You'll have a chance to learn it. And you can actually do a lesson with 1 or 2 screens. As a matter of fact, it's one of the assignments I give online to my class is to use 1 screen for 40 minutes, 4 different ways as instruction. And how would you do that? Oh, you can't do that. Well, how would you do it? I mean, there are ways to do it. So the last kind of presentation is one you plan where you can use resources in different ways, different cognitive ways. You can have students do different activities, move this way, circle that, doing and so forth and so on. And that's a much more, that's a classroom, or if you're giving any kind of workshop, or even business, people will do that. They'll try and train folks in business, and they'll have them come up to smartboards and then do certain activities. So, question or comment? One more, and then we'll take a break. Yes?
Is there an 8 on there?
There is, but you can't, because this is a program called Jing, and so you can't really see the bottom. There it is. So you can spend specific time on one screen because it's used as a presentation that's interactive. So I just have 4 different ways to think about presentations so that as you are in a classroom, you can design each to fit whatever need you have. Now that's from my experience from teaching K through 12 and actually every grade on up to graduate school, that there are ways you can look at your content in certain ways. And you had a question, I'm sorry.
Yes, I have a question. Do you mean it is something like as simple as, like, let's say you put a blank Venn diagram up on the board,
Yep.
and you ask a question, you have students come up and write in the answers. Is that all you're really referring to as far as the interactiveness?
Well, then you can have stuff up there because the smartboard itself has lots of resources. So you can have move stuff around, classify them. So it doesn't have to be just one thing. You can have words here, and you can say, okay, I want you to go to the word that has 3 syllables. You know, so whatever it is that you're teaching, 4th grade especially, but anything, you can look at the different aspects of it, because people don't learn one way. People don't learn one way, and there are many different things you can teach with one piece of information, or one diagram, or whatever it is. And so I just want you to think of what your purpose is, you know, what the problem is, and what kind of interaction you can develop for them to kind of learn what you want them to learn. Yeah, you look at puzzles, so tell me.
That's it. Oh, I don't know. Your screen just moved. I was looking up there.
Well, ask me a question about one of the numbers.
Sorry.
Don't stop.
How about the hooks one, number 6? That's what I was looking at.
The hooks?
6.
Okay, we'll try and find something that will catch their interest, such as, you're going to say here, we're going to do an activity, and I'm telling you, there's going to be something you're going to hate in this, and you're going to want to fight. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's something that's going to change your life. You know, you try to find something to give them the reason to look at what they're doing. So if you're giving a presentation about like the rainforest, you're going to say, there are 3 things that you're going to see in here that are going to be different than what you've been taught before, or they're going to be bigger than you've ever seen. You've never seen something this size. I mean, it's amazing how big this is. You're like a mushroom or something like that. So whatever it is, always look, okay, mushrooms. But always look for something that's coming, they can anticipate in what you're doing, instead of just saying, we're going to do this and then do it. So that's what I call a hook. And especially for the interactive stuff, it's nice because they can, when you get to it, they'll say, oh wow, we're going to get to this point or something. Okay, we'll come back at 5 after 6, so you guys can drink, eat, drink, and be merry, and then we'll come back at 5 after 6, and I'll be here to speak about questions.
Like with the numbering, like I sent an email today.
What do you have your own business?
Yeah.
And what's your business?
So, yeah.
Disc jockey, okay. Photography, is that you?
No, that's one of the wedding I shot.
Oh, okay, I was wondering.
Oh, did my signature come up on the emails?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. So, you have anything in the back? Tell me about the card. I mean, why do you think that works?
Gives you an example of pictures. I really didn't like the way that it came out though. The print blends in too much.
Yeah, what you might want to do is blur that out. You know, like
It
make it
actually
much lighter.
is,
Yeah,
but it's not enough.
it doesn't work.
Somebody did it for me. I told them this is what I did. It wasn't really what I was thinking. And the black just some spots blends in way too much.
This would work as a color. I don't know if you use color or something, because I've seen people with color stuff. So, and you're just, what do you use for web design?
I do a little HTML. I'm trying to teach myself Dreamweaver.
We have Dreamweaver here. We teach it. Well, we used to. We don't teach it anymore. But I got Dreamweaver books if you want some.
Really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. What version are you using? 3, 4, 5? Well, I've got a bunch. I'll let you have it.
Actually, right now, Dr. Ben just gave me a laptop to use, so it's whatever, I think it's whatever's on here.
4 or 5. But I'll give you some Dreamweaver books and keep them. I'll get a new need for them. Video production, okay. So what is this program going to do for you?
Yeah.
So tell me, so what will the program?
Well, actually, I mean, I'm not doing it for my business so much as finding a job. I talked to Dr. Witt at length about it. I was actually, I don't know if you saw, I was on the computer put in your keypads.
Oh, you put it in?
I work for
okay.
Access and Security.
Yeah.
Oh, so you work here?
I went to
Yeah.
So basically, you don't have to pay for the courses.
No, I still have to pay for the courses.
That sucks.
Yeah, I'm not a grad intern or anything.
But no,
But I'm working
employees.
I'm hoping to. That's where I'm hoping to go with it.
Now we've had people. We had the guy's the head of tech in New Britain. Was from my program, Jeff Prokop. We've had people go all
Jeff
over.
Prokop.
Yeah.
He used to do tech in the student center. I worked for him years ago.
He's the head in I think it's New Britain. He's the head of technology and he's RLC.
When he was running the tech in the student center back in like 1989 when I first came here, I worked for him over
89. Because he was in our program in 2001 or something.
there. Well, he would have been an undergrad at that point. So
Yes.
graduated.
Okay,
Yeah,
excellent.
I work for Scott McKenna.
Okay.
Hopefully.
Now, for your stuff, you can actually do something in terms of making presentations for well, whatever you want. I mean, it could be
Dr.
for
Vet in the other class, in 501, he's got me. He said he wants me to kind of go towards like corporate training type stuff because
that would be useful. Stuff such as consulting, perhaps. Now, corporate training should be on corporate training on something. So, what do you know that you could actually apply to corporate training? Think of something that would be useful.
Speak of the devil.
You-
I just
you spoke
said
of the
Dr.
devil.
Vet said to do stuff on corporate training in his class. And
So we're trying to think of what you have to have something to train them on, not just you don't train by nothing.
Forget, talk about training. Did you use this in the office?
No, is it open?
No, it's locked and they need to use the blue chip.
Oh, I have a blue chip if you want.
I have a
blue
blue chip too,
But
except it
you
doesn't
need
seem
the
to
key?
work. The key
Oh,
doesn't work
downstairs. Or this one here. Our office or the
Downstairs.
Ed Lee? That has been a problem for a while. Are you holding it close enough?
Everything's working except the digital.
Oh, digital. Okay.
You know what I could potentially do?
What?
Scott's talking about having me head a team of guys who are going to be doing the new locks.
Mm-hmm.
Not these keypads, but the locks like the ones that are across the hall.
Okay.
So
That would work.
do something for teaching them to do
That would work.
that. I don't
And
know about it.
see how far you get. For interactions, you have the lock and have them do stuff and like that, which you can do. So I like that. So think about that. Problem. You gotta know how to do it. They come in. I mean, it's not a skill that people come in off the street knowing. So that's the instruction. People have messed up in the past. Think along those lines.
Okay.
Okay.
Grab some.
You're good at drinking something. You okay? Are you tired?
Oh, yeah, always.
Dr. Sponder, once I get this email up and running correctly, I will send those over to you.
Could you say that again? Because I'm hard of hearing.
I'm figuring it out. Once I get my email access correct, I'll send everything over to you. I did send it to you as attachments because I was like stressing out over the whole email thing.
Because I know last week they had trouble finding where to access it.
Maybe that was the problem that I was having a major issue with. So
So if you go to the CCSU email
It's
here,
not coming on.
and then it says
You're not gonna put that water out, right? You're gonna put that water over there, or you're gonna put it in your bag? So you teach, what do you teach, computer applications, or what'd you say?
I was teaching computer applications, yes,
I'm sorry?
yes, computer applications.
Do you find that people are much more literate these days?
Not my high school students, no.
They're not?
Oh, God, no.
Well, they can text, right? What else can't they do that you want them to do?
They can only text and operate a phone because they actually care about it. But to write a full paragraph that's error-free, I found a lot more challenging. So,
I know the problem well. We used to have this thing where we'd have people write stuff. This is in college, but we'd have people write stuff, and then they'd have to present it. Like they put it up there, and people would read it, and people would say, "What does that mean? What does it say? Perceive?" And then people get so well. They notice that they're not getting the communication across. So instead of that being bad at writing, it's just you want to get your communication better. So it just doesn't make it personal. You know what I mean?
or the infamous copy-paste.
Sorry?
Or
Copy-paste.
copy-paste, and then they don't know what they've written up there. So then they go to read it verbatim off the board, which is a no-no to begin with. And I actually had some interesting flubs in class.
More boys than girls, or how does that work? Equal?
No, I think it was pretty even across the board.
And how long have you been doing that?
I only got to do one semester of it.
And then what are you doing now? Are you doing
Well, I quit my job, so I'm not doing anything right now.
I remember, yeah.
What's that?
You're gonna like go surfing or something like that, you told me?
I would like to, yeah. I'm just doing school full time right now and looking into some other positions.
Oh, good.